Welcome to part 2 of Let's Play Freeway Fighter by Ian Livingstone. At the end of the last part, I was on paragraph 188. Let's reread this paragraph as a reminder. Okay, you stop your interceptor to examine the burning wreck. Who were these people and why did they attack you without warning? You shake your head and hit the accelerator, eager to reach your destination. You are passing a security truck and thinking about all the money inside it, which is now useless. When suddenly a voice comes through on your radio above the crackling static. It is one of New Hope's leaders. She tells you how a gang of bikers have just attacked New Hope, killing 8 people in the process. After a short battle, they were eventually beaten off. She warns you to be on the lookout for them as they have kidnapped Sinclair, the council leader. You acknowledge the message and say goodbye. After an hour or so of driving without any further incident, you notice that your petrol gauge is dropping. The interceptor is very heavy on petrol. You stop and pour the contents of the fuel canister into the tank, realizing that you will have to find some more petrol soon. A few miles further and you know your luck has really run out. There must have been a car crash at the time of the disaster which caused a huge tailback of now abandoned cars. I only said new abandoned. Of now abandoned cars. It is impossible to continue along the highway. You reverse back to the last exit and drive off the highway. You must decide which way to head along the road which crosses over it. If you wish to drive east, turn to 341. If you wish to drive west, turn to 66. Okay. We are going to go east, so we're going to turn to 341. You pass an ambulance parked off the road to your right, but see no sign of life. If you wish to stop to investigate the ambulance, turn to 267. If you would rather keep driving east, turn to 22. And there's the ambulance in question. It's one of those old-fashioned ones. Yeah, ambulances there, they used to look like that, rather than those huge vans they drive now. Anyway, we are going to keep driving east and turn to 22. We're going to leave the ambulance. Okay, you flash past a road sign which shows a turning to the south immediately ahead. If you wish to drive south, turn to 311. If you'd rather keep cruising east, turn to 203. We're going to keep cruising east and turn to 203. East is where it's at. Now the road is open and wrecked cars are an infrequent hazard. The speedometer reads well above the maximum speed limit that used to control the road, but you know that there is no chance of getting a speeding ticket now. Your enjoyment, however, is short-lived. A roadblock of upturned cars and trucks comes into view. You slow down and survey the scene, sensing danger. Will you fire a rocket at the roadblock? Turn to 372. Try to drive around the roadblock? Turn to 317. Or turn around and drive back to the last junction to head south? Turn to 278. We are going to fire a rocket at the roadblock and turn to 372. So let's use a rocket. So I'll just say in parentheses used 1. There we go. And that's that. So 372, here we come. Reaching forward, you press the rocket launcher button on the control panel. The interceptor shakes as the rocket is fired, and the explosion, which follows immediately, is loud and blinding. When the smoke clears, you see that the roadblock no longer exists. Suddenly you hear the roar of a motorcycle engine starting up, and see 2 leather-clad armed riders appear from behind a bush and blaze up the road through the hole in the roadblock. The passenger turns and fires a warning shot at you as the bike races away. If you wish to drive after them, turn to 95. If you would rather let them get away, turn to 309. And there's what we just did. That cloud looks a bit like the moon. Yeah, with the craters and stuff, the man in the moon or whatever. Anyway, we are going to let them get away. and turn to 309. You watch the bike speed away into the distance until it disappears from view. After waiting for a few minutes, you set off east once again. You soon come to a signpost which points down a narrow dirt track towards a town called Rockville. If you wish to drive south to Rockville, turn to 157. If you would rather keep heading east, turn to 45. We're going to drive south to Rockville and turn to 157. Okay, the dirt track is rough and bumpy, and you realise that people for miles around will see the dust that the speeding interceptor is throwing up. It says miles now, even though it's been using kilometres before. Make your mind up on the measuring system that you're using. Is it imperial or metric? I'm on Team Imperial, as you know. I'm completely familiar with the metric system, but I hate it. Anyway. Nevertheless, you are determined to reach Rockville. Suddenly, you see a blinding flash on top of a boulder in the distance. Test your luck. If you're lucky, turn to 222. If you are unlucky, turn to 315. Okay, let's test our luck. So our luck is currently 11. Now, I have it on good authority that skill 11 or 12 is recommended for this book, because so I might come into some problems because I have skill 10, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Anyway, skill 11, so I'm going to use a luck. Luck 11 rather. So I'm going to use a luck point. So I'll put it down now. Anyway, let's use that luck point we just deducted. So roll 2 dice. This needs to be 11 or less. God, damn, that was close. Okay. Okay, so we were lucky, but we have to put our luck down to 10. Okay, I think if we're unlucky, we get some armor damage or something like that. Anyway, so we're lucky, so turn to 222. 222. Here we are. Nope, wrong one. Oh, hello. Hubba. Anyway, 222 is what we want. Somebody has fired a bazooka at you, but the shell explodes harmlessly a few yards to your left. Turn to 53. Yes, that's what would have happened if we were unlucky. We would have been hit by that bazooka. Bazooka that Veruca. Okay, if you remember, I used to say that when playing Medal of Honor and Medal of Honor Underground, or whatever, bazooka that Veruca. There's a Veruca treatment called Bazooka, and that was on the advert. A bazooka that Veruca. Sort of whimsical for something so disgusting. Anyway, you press down on the accelerator, steering the interceptor towards your attackers. But before you can reach them, they jump onto motorbikes and race off. If you wish to chase after them, turn to 78. If you'd rather reverse, drive back to the road and turn right to head east, turn to 45. We're going to chase after them and turn to 78. It's very neat for post-apocalyptic scenario. Anyway, 78. The bikes are suited to drive along the dirt track, and you are unable to catch up with them. In the distance, you see a cluster of houses, which must be Rockville. The bikes drive straight towards the houses and disappear from view. As you get closer, you hear the sound of gunfire, which seems to be coming from the nearest farmhouse. Will you fire a rocket at the farmhouse? Turn to 199. Keep on driving towards the houses. Turn to 377. Or reverse, drive back to the road and turn right to head east. Turn to 45. We are going to fire a rocket at the farmhouse and turn to 199. So that's 2 rockets used now. There we go. Yeah, turn to 199. Just before I do that, I was on 78, wasn't I? Yeah, as I was saying, Looks really neat for a post-apocalyptic scenario. Anyway, 199. Where is it? Nope, can't seem to find it. There we go. The farmhouse is an easy target and the rocket does not miss. The explosion destroys the farmhouse, sending fragments of brick and wood flying through the air. When the dust has settled, you drive cautiously ahead, one finger against the machine gun trigger. And he said Tringer. One finger against the machine gun trigger. You stop alongside the burning farmhouse but see no signs of life. You turn off the engine and wind down the window of the interceptor. You hear the desperate cry of a man calling for help. If you wish to get out of the car to investigate, turn to 262. If you would rather drive south out of town, turn to 253. We're going to get out of the car to investigate, so turn to 262. This is fun, isn't it? I think so, anyway. If you disagree, then why are you watching? Okay. Although I am glad for your watching, thank you. Anyway, you walk over towards the sound of the cry for help and find that it is coming from inside a shack attached to the general store. You ask who is inside the shack. It's Sinclair, New Hope's council leader. You search around and find an iron bar to prise open the lock on the door. Soon Sinclair is free. Add 1 luck point. Oh, thank you. Back to 11. What am I doing now? Oh yeah, the luck point, sorry. Sinclair tells you about the raid on New Hope and his kidnapping. He asks you to radio to New Hope to tell them that he will return by motorbike as soon as possible. There are 2 bikes parked in front of the general store, of which he chooses the old Harley Davidson. Well, who wouldn't, eh? Thanking you for your help, he waves goodbye and roars off north. Will you search the general store, turn to 112, search the nearest house, turn to 252, or drive off south, turn to 353. We are going to search the general store and turn to 112. That's good that we rescued Sinclair. I'm bad about that. Okay, inside the general store you find a can of meat which you greedily devour, not having eaten such a rare delicacy for a long time. Add 2 stamina points, which I don't need. Okay. More importantly, you find a full canister of petrol, which you stow inside the interceptor. Okay, so we've got another. I'll just put another one there because I want to remember that I have used one. So fuel canister. There we go. Where was I? Oh yeah. If you have not done so already, you may search the nearest house, turn to 252. If you'd rather drive off south, turn to 353. We are going to search the nearest house and turn to 252. You open the front door of the house and step inside. Leading off the hallway, there are 2 doors facing each other. If you wish to open the door on the left, turn to 185. If you wish to open the door on the right, turn to 72. We're going to open the door on the left and turn to 185. Here we are. The door opens into a room that has recently been occupied. There are unfinished cups of coffee on the table and the front wheel of a motorcycle propped up against the wall, its inner tube lying on the floor. Somebody was obviously in the process of mending a puncture. There is also a toolkit on the table, inside which you find a pair of heavy-duty inside which you find a pair of heavy-duty wire cutters which you decide to take with you. Okay, so I've got wire cutters. So that hyphenated. No, who cares? Anyway, if you have not done so already, you may open the door to the room opposite, turn to 72, or you may leave the house, turn to 246. We are going to leave the house, so turn to 246. I think there might be someone inside the other room or something. If you have not done so already, you may search the general store, turn to 112. Otherwise, there is nothing else to do except drive off south. Turn to 353. 112, that's 2 times 56. So that's 16 times 7. Yeah, that's 7 16s, because 8 16s is 128. Yes, that's 7 times 16 is 112. Anyway, enough of that. We are going to drive off south and turn to 353. The dirt track twists and turns through the open countryside, but at last you come to a T-junction where the dirt track is crossed by a good road. You look down it both ways, but do not see any vehicles or signs of life. If you wish to head east, turn to 61. If you wish to head west, turn to 371. We're going to head east and turn to 61. The road heads directly east, and you are able to travel along it without incident until you reach another T-junction. Here you decide to turn right in order to drive south towards San Anglo. Turn to 272. 272. There we are. The road cuts through overgrown fields, but there are no obstructions. You check your mileometer to see how far you have come, and notice that the petrol gauge is reading empty again. If you have picked up a full fuel canister during your journey, turn to 323. If you have not picked one up, turn to 364. Okay, we have a fuel canister, so let's turn to 323. You brake to a halt and get out of the car to empty the fuel canister into the petrol tank. Okay, let's do that. So I'll just say empty. The canister does not hold much. Blimey. The canister does not hold much petrol, and you realise that you will have to be on the lookout for more if you hope to reach San Anglo. By the time you set off again, it is early evening, and you watch the setting sun through the right-hand window. Soon it will be dark, and there is a new decision to make. If you wish to drive off the road to sleep the night inside the Interceptor, turn to 276. If you would rather drive through the night, turn to 42. We are going to sleep the night inside the Interceptor and turn to 276. Here we are. You pull off the road and park the Interceptor behind a row of bushes. When you turn the engine off, you suddenly realise how quiet it is outside and wonder if anybody heard you stop. Excuse me. You decide not to go to sleep until it is totally dark and spend a long time eating your makeshift evening meal. When you are finally convinced that nobody is now likely to find you, you stretch out and go to sleep. In the morning you wake early feeling refreshed, add 2 stamina points which I don't need. You waste no time and drive back on the road to head south. Turn to 8 times 16, which is 128. Okay. Yeah, 128, here we come. Just as you are beginning to enjoy the freedom of the open road in the early morning light, you are suddenly startled by the sight in your rear-view mirror of a vehicle closing up on you. It is an armoured car, and you see a jet of flame flash from its gun barrel as a shell is fired at you. It explodes to your left, rocking the car, but you are able to keep control. Will you drop iron spikes, turn to 312, release an oil spray, turn to 165, or carry out a high-speed handbrake turn and face the armoured car, turn to 77. Blimey. Not a comfortable sight, that. We are going to release an oil spray, so let's use one of them. So I'll just say one used. Let's put that on another line and then get that back up. Oops. Yeah, there we are. Yeah, so 165, we're releasing an oil spray. You lean forward and press the button on the dashboard which releases the oil spray. The armoured car drives straight over the oil slick and you watch with amusement as the driver struggles to control the skidding vehicle. Roll 1 die. If the number is between 1 and 5, turn to 234. If the number rolled is 6, turn to 280. Okay. Right, let's roll 1 die. And we get a 3. Okay. So 3 is between 1 and 5. So let's go to 234. The driver is unable to control the skidding armoured car and it runs off the road into a ditch. You smile and accelerate away, leaving behind the immobilised vehicle. Turn to 47. As the morning wears on, it becomes very hot and you notice a change in the vegetation the further south you travel. The overgrown fields turn into scrubland and it won't be long before you are driving across the desert. A few miles further down the road you arrive at a major junction. If you wish to turn right to head west, turn to 117. If you would rather keep driving south, turn to 23. We are going to turn right to head west, so turn to 117. Here we are. You travel, let's work this out, shall we, just for fun. So, kilometres to miles is 8/5, isn't it? Yeah. So it's, oh no, wait a minute, 80. Oh no, so it's 5/8, sorry. I can do that myself. That's 5 times 10. Yeah, it's going to be 50, isn't it? It's going to be 50 miles. I don't need a calculator for that. Yeah, 5/8 of 80 is 50 miles. So 80 kilometers is 50 miles. Okay, you travel about 50 miles and then the road ends at a T-junction. You decide to turn left in the direction of San Anglo. Turn to 189. Leading off the road on your right is a rough road which is marked with several sets of tyre tracks. The tracks look as if they were made quite recently. If you wish to drive down the rough road, turn to 24. If you'd rather stay on course for San Anglo, turn to 207. We are going to drive down the rough road and turn to 24. He looks dangerous, doesn't he? You drive along the bumpy road until you come to a wooden gate which bars the way. The gate is covered with barbed wire and a heavily tattooed, bare-chested man sits casually astride it, brandishing a machine gun. In a gruff voice he says, "I don't recognize you. From which gang are you?" "Black Rats," you reply on the spur of the moment. "Never heard of them," the man replies. "Still, we'll race against anybody. Follow the road down to the burnt-out house and you'll see the other cars parked there. The first race will start in about 5 minutes. There are some pretty heavy bets being laid today. Should be lots of fun. If you wish to drive through the gate, turn to 300. If you would rather reverse quickly and drive back to the main road to head south, turn to 59. I must say, he looks very, he doesn't look like, I mean, it looks like it doesn't look like his face matches his body. He has the face of I don't know, a politician or a newsreader. It doesn't sort of match his body. Anyway, we're going to drive through the gate and turn to 300. Anyway, there he is. There's the whole thing. Black Rats. Anyway, 300. Following the instruction... Start again. Following the instructions of the tattooed man, you drive down the dirt road to the burnt-out house. 4 customized cars are parked in a row, each sprouting a multitude of weapons. A group of people stands in heated discussion, although they all turn to watch you park. You walk over to the group and ask them about the forthcoming race. A small man with a scar running the length of his face smiles and says, "Rookie, huh? Never been to a blitz race before? Listen, it's quite simple. Challenge any of us to a race. You have to bet 200 creds, but if you win, the prize is a big can of petrol. If you win, that is." The man then bursts into laughter and the others join in. If you wish to challenge him to a blitz race, turn to 240. If you'd rather just spectate, turn to 224. We're going to challenge him to a blitz race and turn to 240. I must say I've never seen that word written down before, spectate. The act of spectating, like what a spectator does. I suppose it makes sense. Yeah, I've never seen that word written down before. Anyway, you take 200 credits out of your pocket. Do I have 200 credits? Let's have a look. Yes, I have 200. Right, okay, good. You take 200 credits out of your pocket and thrust them towards the man with the scar. He snatches them from you and says, "There's a sucker born every minute. Get in your car, let's do it." We race for 5 miles down the dirt road, because 8 kilometers is 5 miles. Turn around at the White House and race back. And remember, there are no holds barred in a blitz race except bullets and rockets. You climb inside the interceptor, start it up, and crawl forward to the starting line. Your opponent draws alongside you in his bright yellow Ford. You see that it is armed with 2 machine guns and a grenade launcher. A girl standing in between the 2 cars raises a white towel into the air and then suddenly pulls it down to signal the start of the race. Roll 2 dice. If the total is the same as or less than your skill, turn to 3. If the total is greater than your skill, turn to 148. Okay, yep, let's test our skill. Our skill is 10, so we need to roll 2 dice. And we get a 10. Okay, so that's less than or equal. Where are we? Yep, so we're turning to 3. 10 is less than or equal to 10, so now we're turning to 3. You stamp down on the accelerator and release the clutch at the same time. The back wheels spin, throwing up dust, but you race off ahead of the yellow Ford. In your rearview mirror, you see the anger on your opponent's face as he drives to the limit along the narrow road to catch up with you. The Ford must be supercharged. It accelerates up behind you and rams your car at high speed. Test your luck. If you're lucky, turn to 254. If you're unlucky, turn to 247. Okay, our luck is 11 again, so let's test our luck. So we need this dice roll to be 11 or less. And we get a 10 again. Okay, so that is less than 11, but we've used a luck point, so we have to put it down to 10. We were lucky, so turn to 354 rather. Now the interceptor swerves to the left, but you steer into the skid and keep the car under control. You have to think quickly to decide what tactics to use. Will you accelerate away, turn to 183, or brake hard to let the Ford pass you, turn to 27. We're going to brake hard and let the Ford pass us. So let's turn to 27. This is the first fighting fantasy book in the series that has a car chase, I think. I suppose it had to have one really, if it's called Freeway Fighter. Anyway, you slam on the brakes and screech almost to a halt. The Ford swerves around you and is soon accelerating away from you. As you are not allowed to use your forward-firing weapon, you decide to ram the Ford. Turn to 139. The Ford slows down for a bend in the road, but you keep your foot down hard on the accelerator. You crash into the back of the Ford, but only succeed in damaging the Interceptor. Lose 2 armor points. That puts us down to 28. There we go. The Ford has steel-plated crash bars built to withstand ramming. You realise that you will have to overtake the Ford in order to use your rear missile weapons. As though he has read your mind, the Ford's driver starts to swing the car from side to side to stop you passing. It will take considerable manoeuvring skill to pass him. Roll 2 dice. If the total is the same as or less than your skill, turn to 8. If the total is greater than your skill, turn to 287. Okay, we need to test our skill again. Skill is 10, so this needs to be 10 or less. And we get 6. Good, we were successful. Okay, so we're turning to 8. That's what we're doing right now. Is that a dead cat? No, it's supposed to be smoke, I think. It looks like a dead cat. Yeah, I saw a dead cat in the road a couple of years ago. Anyway, enough of that. 8. We're going to 8. You make as if to pass the Ford on its left-hand side, but suddenly swerve to overtake on the right. It is a successful maneuver, and you are able to accelerate away from your opponent. Turn to 340. You decide that it is time to use a weapon against the chasing car, so you look at the buttons on the dashboard. If you wish to empty a canister of iron spikes onto the road, turn to 318. If you would rather spray a film of oil over the road, turn to 213. Okay, we are going to empty some iron spikes onto the road, so let's use some of them. So I'll just say 1 used like before. Okay, whoops, wrong one. Good. 318. That's the ambulance again. Okay, 318 is just over here. Here we go. You press the button on the dashboard which releases the canister. You watch it bounce along the road as the Ford speeds towards it. Test your luck. If you are lucky, turn to 63. If you are unlucky, turn to 98. Okay, let's just test our luck and then we'll end the video, I think. So our luck is currently 10. So this needs to be 10 or less. And we get a 6 again. So we were lucky, but we have to use a luck point. That puts us down to 9 luck points. We were lucky, so let's turn to 63. The canister bursts open and spreads iron spikes all over the road, but the Ford is equipped with a powerful underbody air jet which blows all but one of the iron spikes off the road. The only damage done is a slow puncture to one of its heavy-duty tyres, which slows it down just enough for you to accelerate out of range of its grenade launcher for the moment. Up ahead you see the White House where you must turn around. You jam on the brakes and turn the steering wheel sharply to the left. You reverse back a few yards in a cloud of churned up dust and then slam the gear stick forward into first to race back to the finishing line. The Ford makes an equally swift U-turn and is soon just behind you. It powers alongside you and the driver pulls down on his steering wheel in order to sideswipe the Interceptor. He looks set to determine the outcome of this duel by ramming. Yellow Ford, firepower 8, armor 16. A successful ram will reduce a car's armor by 2 points. If you survive 4 attack rounds, turn to 334. Okay. Okay, yeah, this is vehicle combat. We're going to do this in the next video because I want to end the video now. So on paragraph 63, so I'll write that down just in case I forget, or type it down, or type it in, whatever, who cares. Whoops, that's a full stop. I don't want a full stop, I want a comma. Okay, so on paragraph 63, and I'll read it again, and we have to fight the yellow Ford in vehicle combat. Vehicular combat. Okay, okay. Okay, we are there. Okay, right. Okay, so whoops. Yeah. So in the next video, first of all, thanks for watching. In the next video, we will be doing a vehicle combat and deciding on the outcome of this battle. So I'm on paragraph 63. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you can join me for next time. Goodbye.